The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
And you are listening to Until Now with Rosie Pekar on W4CY Radio. If you wish to join the live chat, go across to w4cy.com and ask your questions. And today, that topical song, Born to Be Alive, it's a constant reminder, and with Easter fast approaching, it is that resurrection in man's thoughts of what's happening to make life better or make life worse. So on that topic today, I'm going to talk about why the 1% rule is of such importance. And I've got my guest, Vicky Shaw, the wealth creation coach, back with us by hot demand from last week so that she can share her take on the 1% rule. But for myself, this came about, the choice of topic, from watching a program that I saw last week. Now, those of you that have been listening for a while are aware my background is in law enforcement and investigations over 16 years. So I deal with, people with more of a negative slant and mindset. However, these days, working as a motivational speaker and author in that genre, I deal with more people that have a more positive and mindset that works for them instead of against them. But I can swing either way, depending which day and where I'm asked to go. So this 1% rule, the program I was watching, was about psychopaths. And it was within the prison systems. They conducted a study within the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, a few locations. And people were asking them when they did the study, why are you focusing on the 1%? And that answer is critical for within our lives and our success today. So that's the topic that I want to follow through. But I want to welcome our guest, Vicky Shaw, today.
Hi, how you going, Rosie?
I'm doing well. I'm being part of the 1%.
I know. I think we both are part of the 1%, which is good. We're unique.
Exactly.
We're uniquely different.
It's that little point of difference between ordinary and extraordinary. And it's often seeing the same thing, but seeing it with an aha moment that makes that same thing so entirely different. And I guess that's the purpose of our conversation today, that you might hear one little thing that has that aha revelation that has a renewal in your mind of some old stuff that we're able to let go of. Because, Easter, I guess, is the time I identified as the time of letting go of what's not serving, what's not working.
I think you can let go anytime. I don't think you need a special time. Let go anytime. So, and I think we're looking for the thing that turns you off, and we're looking for the thing that turns you on. Exactly.
And I couldn't agree more that it's ideal that we are able to let go at any time. I think Easter serves as a reminder for those of us that aren't letting go at any time. Let go now, for God's sake.
Well, if it isn't working, change it, or if you're not where you want to be.
Well, this program that I was watching, to do with the psychopaths, their focus on them and their study of them, and they were asked the question, why are you focusing on the 1% of the population within the prison? Because most of the criminals in there are not psychopaths. It was only 1% that were. And psychopaths are innately very deceptive. You aren't really aware that they are psychopathic, albeit their actions after the fact might identify it. And like one question is asked, how do we know what is good and what is bad in our lives? Well, I guess by the results. So, for example, within the prison system that I'm talking about, the psychopaths got identified by what they did that was so bad, that was so terrible. And it's that 1% they discovered that are responsible for over 50% of the violent crime. So there all of a sudden is an interest. Why do we want to know about the 1%? Because it's creating over 50% of the problems, not just within the prison system, but our world as a whole that we operate and work within. And these psychopaths are, they can be identified by many different points, which is that they're generally quite intelligent, they're generally quite manipulative, they're quite narcissistic, they may be quite promiscuous, and they can be quite influential. So the psychopath could be the priest. He could actually be, your school teacher. He could be the fireman. He could be any individual whatsoever. They don't come in, wearing a red coat and a red hat and a sign on them, as you've just pointed out.
They don't come with it. No, that's right.
Exactly. So how do we then identify? And it's by the results in our lives, the same as we identify what's not working by the results in our lives, by whether it feels good or it feels bad. So with these psychopaths, they said, well, is it from nurture, the environment that they've grown up in? And we were discussing before on air that, you've come from a really good environment where you've been supported and well loved.
Yes, I have, yeah. I don't have a sob story on that for you, sorry.
No, exactly. Whereas I come from an environment that some people would look at and go, oh, poor Rosie, isn't that terrible, what you had to go through. And I've listened to many different stories of difficulty, of challenge, of overwhelmment, grief and despair. Now, it's not that we get a medal or a brownie star for that, only to the extent that it doesn't define you, but it helps refine you. It helps you choose what you're really going to focus on.
Well, it's interesting that you say that everybody says to you, well, poor Rosie, whereas a really good way to look at it, you don't say, oh, poor Rosie. You just went with it and ran with it. I would look at it and say, what an interesting journey.
Exactly.
What an interesting kickstart you had.
And what a great reframe. Yeah. Interesting is the key word, because that's what I do when I experience pain. I go, oh, there's a unique sensation. Because I don't want to create a pathway that's a fast track to things that I don't want.
Yeah.
So if we unlearn certain words and language and habits we have, and that's the importance of the 1%. When I do presentations, I do an exercise right at the start that I physically change people by 1% right at the start. Now, what the change is irrelevant, because it's just for them to identify that it took no effort on their part to make this little bit of difference. So what in your life is not working for you that you can identify and make a little bit of change in that is really no effort, but is getting you more on track to what you want than what you don't want. So the reason they focused on the psychopaths, they have a test, a Hare's test, and one person who got 40 on this test, which is a phenomenally high score, yet when they spoke with him, he would be intelligent, articulate, clever, witty, sociable, all what the rest of us would term great guy. However, clinically, he actually was one of the highest psychopaths. And at the end of the conversation and presentation, he just simply said, well, I had all of you fooled. And that's the thing. It showed only through brain scans they were able to identify the difference, because they had parts of their brain that don't light up at all or are activated for where you would normally have an emotional response or connection. So you see a cute little puppy, most of us go, oh, and, we have that nice heart, warm glow feeling. The psychopaths did not. They had no connection. If they saw a child dishevelled, obviously in trauma or pain or suffering, we would look and we would instantly have a feeling of sadness or relate to something in our past possibly, or, just automatically have that feeling we want to care. Brains would light up with that. Their brains did not. So again, they genetically, in a sense, or inherently within them, had a means and a way that they weren't connected. Yeah. So they're identifying now, is there a way we can program our brains to help us be more activated and engaged with humanity? And that's what I see as the 1% that are successful, is those that get engaged.
Well, isn't thought how you program your brain?
Oh, most definitely. But I think they're going a clinical way, because thought we can't reach out and touch and feel and say, oh, that's real. I agree wholeheartedly. However, they want to go, oh, no, I stuck a probe in there, or I stuck a gizmo in there that's electronic and I can fire off at my command. It's like taking a pill. I can put certain chemical components in there and give that to you. I can now monitor and follow it. But most importantly, I can capitalize on it and commercialize it. So I can make money off it. If I can't make money off it, like your thoughts, I can't control your thoughts. They're sort of ignoring that part, but I agree wholeheartedly. We certainly can.
But quite simply, I don't think there's any need to make something more complicated than it is. Kids, keep it simple, stupid.
Or keep it simple, sweetheart.
So that's it. The thing is, I learned that many, many years ago, and I think the thing is that your thoughts are, pretty much control. What are you thinking? And your indicator on if it's right, good, bad, right, wrong, is how you feel about it.
Exactly.
So if you want to feel good, do something that makes you feel good.
Yes.
If you're not feeling good, stop doing what makes you feel bad. That's as hard as it is.
Exactly. Some people get caught up, though, and they're doing things to make other people feel good, and they think by default then they'll feel good. And I'll just answer that question that we've been asked is, where are you sticking things in people? They were sticking things in people's brains because they thought if we can control the brain, we can control the individual. And we may not be too far away from that. They're investigating different patterns that can go into our brains that I guess would make us a commercial product, just as our robotics and, all other aspects are. However, that's outside of the realm of the discussion today. It's about that 1% that makes a difference, and it makes a difference, be you a psychopath, be you an Olympian, or be you a blueberry. That 1%, the one that's rotten affects the others that are rotten. The one that's, switched in, tuned in, and I guess we could put, Jesus Christ in a sense in that 1%, at Easter time, who stuck to his guns and his beliefs. And, there'll be those that'll go, oh, how dare you talk about him in that fashion? And it's like, well, the fact that he's being spoken about for so long is so important that people miss the message. It wasn't about idealising the man or the person. It was like looking at the works, looking at, the offerings and the opportunities and running with those opportunities that are left before us.
Well, he... like Hitler,
yes.
That's the power of belief. So,
yes.
I say, as much as, we may or may not like what Hitler did,
yes.
and there are some people who say what he did was great, and some people say what he did was terrible. I have no opinion there.
Yes.
But he is a great example of someone who absolutely believed in himself.
And had that level of influence, which I guess we're seeing again today within, the American political race, of what someone who has inherent belief within themselves, whether you agree or disagree, and that's a controversial subject and topic on its own.
Well, no one, nothing changes unless someone stands up and throws something into the ring.
Exactly, and that's what I think is that even if it changes, that it stirs a lot of people up to action that otherwise have been sitting by the sidelines and not actively participating. I see that as a good thing because it's awakening people that you're the direct dictator in your own life. You are the cruise ship controller. It's your ship, it's your mind, it's your, we were talking about it the other day, and I was saying, so many people, they get up, they go to work, 9 till 5 or 7 till 3 or whatever the time is, in a job that they complain and whinge about and moan about having to do, and whinge and complain about the people all around them in that place. Then they come home or they whinge and complain about their partners that are at home while they're in that place. They bring that energy back home. They make something to eat or they buy something to eat. They have dinner. They sit in front of a mind-numbing program or brain-killing session on television. And then they go to sleep and they wake up and repeat. And to me, that is not what life is. That doesn't carry energy and vitality and exuberance. Yet,
if you don't like it, don't do it. If you don't like where you work, go somewhere else. Do something else.
Well, that's where my first challenge would be, because some would say, well, I haven't got the luxury. I've got 3 kids to feed and I need that paycheck coming in instantly. And so to that answer or that response, I'd simply say, find a way that, you make what you're doing a focus that is freeing and more fun. So, for example, I know of a guy that worked at the toll gates and just sat there and spoke to, different drivers that drove through that paid their toll, and he loved his job. He used to loathe his job. He loathed sitting in the same place, but he ended up loving it because he realised that what his love was actually people. And here he was in a position where every single day he came into contact with so many people on the planet, and he had a window of opportunity, albeit a very short window, to directly impact them positively or directly impact them negatively. So he made a choice. And as he made the choice, to give out more of himself, he discovered he found he was excited each day of what he was going to do on that day, how he was going to greet people on that day. And he changed his workplace from something he loathed into something he loved. Now, that was that 1% difference, but the change began with him.
So, the message in that is if you can't change your job, and I'm sure there'll be listeners who think, well, that's easier said than done. I can't change my job. I've been there for 20 years. So on that note, then the next best thing is to look at your job differently. To look at your job differently, be grateful you've got it,
yes.
And then it'll be like your guy at the toll booth, just think about that job, what he did with that.
Yes, the benefit.
He's in a confined space all day, hates it,
yes.
And he just turned it around.
Exactly.
So most people aren't in a confined space.
Exactly, and most people can find a source of freedom if they find what's the value in what you're giving. It's when you devalue yourself or the position you're in, or again, it's like taking away that 1%. Every day, and this 1% that I talk about, it's not that we improve or we choose, to expand just by 1%. It is 1%, but it's committed to and done continually. So over time, that 1% is exponentially humongous. We can't even fathom the impact that 1% change, which is a no-brainer and no effort, what it does over time. So for him, his 1% change of his mindset, but he committed to it and he did it on a daily basis, and it became a continual thing that over time he discovered all of a sudden now he couldn't wait to get to work for what was going to be his new tack in dealing with people. And from that is where opportunities arise. Like I know of another guy that was packing groceries, and in his job packing groceries, he gave a smile and he just did a little bit more with each customer. And there was one gentleman that came through on that day that was so impressed with the way that his groceries was packed and this young man's attitude that he took him under his wing and he helped him with a new career and another opportunity. Now, without that 1% difference, he would have blended in with all other baggers around the world.
Yeah, well, the secret there is just to be, if you're in it, be in it. I have a saying, and that is you're either in it or you're not in it. If you're not in it, get out of it. And if you're in it, be as good as you can in it.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm never ever going to leave my job, I can't, or for whatever reason, or whatever you're saying, just look at the real positives in it. You've got a choice.
Most definitely what you take away from it. Now, you're listening to Until Now with Rosie Pekar on W4CY Radio. If you want to join the live chat, just go to W4CY.com. And yes, I talk fast, or maybe you're listening too slow. One of the two. But you can click on the right-hand side and ask your questions. Now, I was recently just talking with someone yesterday that reminded me of this point of how we don't let go very easily. And this girlfriend of mine was mentioning how, she's a single mother, same as myself, and she has a son the same as myself, and she mentioned how she had actually separated from her husband when she was pregnant, and how he never got involved right from the outset of pregnancy. And the child is now, a teenager, so many years have elapsed since that moment, when this then partner has left the scene. So has had no involvement with the child other than one cursory meeting for maybe an hour or two at one point in the child's life. Yet within her house stands most honourably a magnificent photo of this man. And I said to her, why do you have a monument to a man that is not part of your life within the house? And her answer was, because I still want my son to have a relationship with his father. And I thought, well, why on earth would you put him centre stage, a person who is not present in your life? Because that's not only stopping the energy of a new man coming into your life and being involved, but it shows how you're not letting go of the past. So there are many of us, lots of people who hold on to a non-existent past. Like he wasn't even part of the child's life from when the child was born. Yet here they are, front and centre in the lounge room. And I said, my own child, like we split up when Dad was, when the child was 3.5. Dad stayed in the picture till my son was about 4.5, and my son's 9 now. So I kept the picture of all of us as a family in my child's bedroom up until probably about the age of 6. that I didn't have at the centre of my house. It was in my child's bedroom because that's my child's life. And then I left it up to my child when we moved house later. I had a whole selection of photos and pictures, and I said, pick what you want within your bedroom and then pick what you want together with me through the house. And the picture that included the picture of his father was no longer selected. So I thought, okay, well, if you're not selecting it, I'm not picking it up for you. That's your choice of where you want to put it. Now, some might agree or disagree with my actions, and that's well and good because we're not all here to agree, because otherwise if we do, no one's really thinking. And we've been asked the question, are they not in the child's life? Yes, in this case, this girlfriend, the father was not in the child's life. My child still has his within his life and is happy about that involvement. And as such, they have a good relationship, and that's their relationship. You know, it's separate and individual to me. However, I mean, if he wanted a picture up, he could have a picture up. But what I'm talking about is the people that attach to the past and a non-existent past, that the potential of a past that they'd wanted it to be, because she had such a great relationship with her father, she wanted her child to have that. And I said, yes, but your father made the commitment to be involved in your life. This person that you've done a monument to has made no commitment to be involved in your life. So why are you honouring them is my question that I've thrown out. So that's that 1% of people that are attaching to things in the past that didn't work out and holding dearly to it. And it's, if you're a bloke, I'd say it's castrating you in the present. And if you're a female, I don't know what the equivalent is to being castrated, but it leaves you impotent. It kills your potential.
Well, I just think, you know, I'll just take up an opinion on that, if that's okay, Rosie. And the thing that instantly comes to my mind is that she's not evolving with the situation. So she's frozen in a time warp. Exactly. And I think that picture is more about her. Yes. And has very little to do with the child. Exactly. The situation is the situation. You cannot change it. That's all there is to it. You can't change it. People do, and they're allowed to fall out of love. And that's okay. That's okay. Exactly. Marriage is about uniting people who are in love, who want to be together, who want to have a family. Nobody goes down the aisle, I don't believe, goes down the aisle thinking, well, this will last 5 minutes. You go into it hoping it'll work. Sometimes we just grow apart. So I would say that is, I don't know the friend that you're talking about, but I would say that's more about her being frozen in time.
Oh, well and truly. And that's why I'm using it, not to discuss my friend, but to share a relatable point to a lot of people. And you'll know the person yourself, or you'll be the person yourself that has things from the past that you're attached onto in the present. And this is, you know, a non-existent past that is corrupting a now existing present. Like right now, you know, she wants to have that relationship for her child to have a son-father relationship. That will occur with any of her male friends. There will be a bonding and that camaraderie established. So, but my point is not so much on that personal relationship, but on ourselves. You know, where are we creating a monument or staying stuck and rigid and limiting ourselves? And as one listener has commented, there is female castration. So yeah, where have we?
Not the topic today.
Where have we cut ourselves off from our opportunity to keep creating in the now?
You know, I'd just like to say something. I know, I think you moved on a little bit, but I would like to say one thing.
Yep.
I style homes, and I, apart from being a wealth strategist, I also style homes. Anything to do with property, I do it. But on this subject, I've had people say to me when it comes to their children's room, they say, well, what do you want? How do you want your room done? They ask their 5-year-old daughter or their 5-year-old son, you know. And my thing to you is, the parent is there to share their knowledge of what they know, how to best move forward in life. So my question to you is, would you ask a 5-year-old child to fix your car? Would you ask a 5-year-old to drive you to work? So I say to them, well, if you want your 5-year-old to decide how this house will be styled, that's absolutely fine. But there is a breaking point. There's a limit, if you know what I mean.
I guess it depends on the outcome you're going for, because, again, there'll be, like many things, 2 sides to a coin or 10 sides to a coin, depending what type of coin you're going to use. Sometimes when it is only, one child and one parent, it's good to create a position of not being told what to do and told what's happening for you, but having you be part of the process. It's like forming any team environment. We don't just say, this is your mission statement. We say, what are your core things? And for me, like, you know, my taste, it's eclectic. I like things collected from around the globe. It has a positive reminder for me. My home suits for me. It may not suit for another individual coming in. So for his space, I wanted him to choose. This is his space. It's not going to be me telling him.
No, I don't think I actually don't feel like I've shared that correctly with you. What I'm saying is, you know, at 5 or 9 or 10 or a child or children, I don't have children, but children, you know, absolutely they've got an opinion, and it's fantastic to hear the opinion and to listen to them. Absolutely phenomenal, fantastic. But at the end of the day, the parent will be the decider.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
And of course, you know, the children don't have the wisdom of a parent.
Yes.
So I was actually going back to the lady that has the picture of her husband there, and where we were saying that, I know we've since moved on from that, but I missed my opportunity there. But my thing is, you know, yes, children do have an opinion, but you're the ultimate guide. You know, the single mother or father or both are the ultimate guide. And,
I agree.
Yeah, anyway, I just wanted to say, you know, would you let your 5-year-old fly an aeroplane, or would you let your 5-year-old be in charge of the next conference you do? And the point I'm making is the mother and father have the wisdom, so it'll be
we like to think so.
So it'll be their ultimate decision after the child has shared what they're feeling about it at that age with the wisdom that they have on that day.
Yeah. And as one listener has asked, if the parent were passed on, I could see keeping the memory alive. Oh, most definitely. I think if people earn the right to be in our lives by their value and their contribution, and that's what I'm talking about, is that this person was never present, never contributed positively. If anything, their contribution was extremely toxic and negative. So why would you keep a toxic and negative reminder front and centre as a daily reminder of a feeling of failure for her?
Because that's not, the man in this case is not the best example.
Far from the best example. Exactly. There are many men out there that are outstanding examples, and I'll have photos, you know, of my mother and father within the home who were deceased before my child was born. So he knows them and relates to them and understands the gifts that they're giving, that I'm empowered now to give to him. So that is a positive way. So that's what we're talking about today, is the 1% that makes a difference, be it in a toxic sense, like a rotten blueberry in the punnet. We all know what happens there, and it doesn't take too long. Or the psychopath within our society, who is responsible for over 50% of our carnage and violence, or within positive, Olympians. You know, that 1% is the difference that makes them the number one or the number two. You know, it's the smallest increment. So what areas we're looking at to make changes to positively inspire. So in the theme of Easter, I use the terminology of letting go and letting good, or letting God, whichever you're more comfortable with, but letting go of those things that were from the past that you've resurrected on a daily basis that limit your ability and capacity to feel fulfilled, or that you're fulfilling your potential.
Yeah, don't fight it. Don't fight life. It happens naturally. So don't fight it.
So, well, for some, life doesn't happen naturally. I think for some, there's life that is just a constant daily struggle, and they think, oh, I don't want more of this life. I've got more than I can handle right now. It's like, you know, we try and deal with one day at a time, and several of them attack us at once.
Well, the breathing and the being born happens. Yes. Did you have a say? No, you didn't have a say in that. So that's what I'm saying. It just happens naturally. So that happens naturally. What happens is you take charge of it because of whatever your surroundings were that influenced the way you think. You start taking control of it, but not always what's good for you is, your thoughts and the way you think about yourself and the way you believe this and that and the other.
And that's a vital point that you've just raised. I think if we just go back to the simplicity of 1% of thoughts that people think, because we move in circles where people have got good self-esteem. However, I know in my case personally, I didn't always move in those circles where people had good self-esteem. Now, what is this thing called self-esteem? It's just how, if you were to look at yourself in the mirror right now, what are the first thoughts that pop up into your mind? Is it, hey, they're gorgeous, good to see you, good looking, or wow, you're amazing? Or is it, oh my God, have a look at how that's sagged, how that's dropped, or how that's not sitting right, or oh my God, I've aged, or, or look at you, oh my God, this is, what are those thoughts? Those thoughts reveal about you specifically, not what I think, not what the neighbour thinks, not what mum and dad thinks, because none of that impacts us.
Well, we're conditioned by the media and magazines and the paper. We're conditioned by our friends. We're conditioned at school. I'm going to throw something in here, and I just found it unbelievable. The other day, I was watching a television show about the O.J. Simpson case. And rather than go into the murder, I noticed the media were reporting on what everybody was wearing.
Oh no, that's a sad state of
affairs. And I just thought that's absolutely ridiculous. We're not watching this because we want to know how short the dress is, how bad the trousers are, or what the suit looks like. Aren't we talking about a murder case?
Yes, and one that involved a clinical psychopath.
It was twisted and turned. And here in Australia, I watch breakfast television, and I note that. The readers or the news readers go, doesn't he look gorgeous, or isn't she stunning? Well, for someone to be stunning and someone to be gorgeous, that someone has to be ugly.
Yeah.
And so this is where the lack of self-esteem comes from, because if they don't see themselves as that model that was in that magazine, well, they don't rate themselves, and that's where it comes from, and you're conditioned from school, and that's where bullying comes from. So they're watching the media talk about this woman judging the O.J. Simpson case, about how she's dressed, how bad her hair is, what the other lawyers are doing, what the judge is doing. They're talking about what they're wearing and how they look. So that's where bullying comes from in school.
Exactly, and that's that 1% having that ability to influence over 50%. Of, the rest of us through, and often subconsciously.
Yeah, but the thing is, don't buy into it. Don't buy into it. No one can help how they look. And, a really great example of people who don't buy into it are people in third world countries and the disabled or special needs people.
Yeah, or even minority groups, as you were discussing before. Because, again, when you come from, like I come from migrant parents, and as a migrant child going to school, it's something that you learn very quickly when you're seen to be part of the 1% or seen to be different somehow, the persecution that sort of goes automatically with that, because somehow we think it's a good thing to be part of the masses, to have
it's like a football team, and we're brought up like that. We're like that. It's like, I'm single and I am a minority, and people are prejudiced against me.
Yes.
So it's like a football team. United we stand, divided we fall. Exactly. So people want to swing with the majority, because if the more people are doing it, must be right. That's not right.
Exactly.
That's actually not right.
One man, that is not right.
And exactly. And one man invented electricity, and one man invented the car, and two men invented air travel. Do you know what I mean? So that's not right. It's not correct. But people who have no real opinion or don't believe, or possibly, I'm just throwing this out there, are the ones that will sit with the majority vote because it's easier.
Exactly. And I think that's what, we were talking about earlier, the fact that if people are shaken up in their thought processes, the good thing is, even though people might become angry and irate, and how dare you voice that sort of opinion, something that's controversial or different. We see this in science all the time. We see it in politics. We see it in lots of arenas. The good thing is, if it shakes you up, it's good, because at least you now know you're aware and you're awake, and you're choosing your thoughts, not your thoughts being thought for you by some other medium, such as the media. That you mentioned it with that particular case. However, I've seen it as a police officer specialising in sexual assault, and then the media report on the sexual assault saying the girl was out late at night, wearing a mini skirt, wearing high heel, hair and makeup. They presented as if almost she was asking for it. And it's like, what an atrocious perspective. Who cares if she was standing there butt naked?
But even if she was asking for it, it doesn't. If someone, if you're standing there on the corner going, "Kill me, kill me, kill me," does that mean that you can go and kill her?
No, of course not.
No, it's ridiculous.
But that's the thing, is the fact that no one. They're almost saying that we've got a certain way, we've got to act and behave, and then we'll be okay. If you don't act and behave that way, you're outside society's acceptance, and that is incorrect. as one says here, but you are media. How is it you knock it in such a way? Well, that's a good thing. That shows that I'm thinking. That shows that I'm not controlled. That's a lovely question. So the form of social media today gives us the freedom to speak our own personal opinions and our personal beliefs. Do I tell anybody, you must do as I do and act as I act? No, not at all. I say research and find out for yourself. And as you find out for yourself and you become more informed, as you're more informed, you make better choices for yourself and all those around you. And that's a position of power that every single person should be in. So great question, and thank you very much for that.
Fantastic question. And it's also, there's different cars and there's different content. Like there are different cars. Different content. There's different content, isn't
exactly.
there? So, content is different no matter what.
We're talking in the perspective of how does the 1% within your life affect you positively or negatively? And if you can identify it, then you can rectify it. If the fact that people don't see that 1% and that 1% is accumulating every single day and it's impacting and affecting you en masse, yourself and those around you, all because we're unaware. So that's where, more information, better information, you make better choices. Simple as that. Like this lady, she can go home now, and I bet you that picture of the bloke that was never in a child's life and never in her life other than a negative, toxic influence will be taken down. And she's got the opportunity now for a new life. When a bloke comes in now, he's not going to see someone else sitting front and centre that was never present. Okay, one question, and for those that want to join the live chat, just go to W4CY. You're listening to Until Now with Rosie Pekar, or in some regions Pekar, and others it's Pekar, so I don't really answer that one. What opens people's eyes? Well, other than you wake first thing in the morning, and for those of us that are lucky, generally, I would certainly think that, as I mentioned earlier, when you see something you're used to but in a different light, you have that aha experience. So, yes, it can be something you read, something you hear, something, you physically have as an experience. They're all things that give you an opportunity to see things differently. Like, for example, walking up a mountain. If you walk up a mountain, your view at the bottom is totally different to your view at the top. And even your view at the top, depending whether you're looking north, south, east and west, it can be completely different again. Does it mean one view's right and another view's wrong? Not at all. They're all views. And, that's why, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And what does it take to have that aha moment? Don't look down. Well, if you look down, you've got a more encompassing view. And I think the 1%ers get to be 1%ers because they're more inclusive in whatever they're sharing. So the purpose of my program is not to knock or criticise or condemn or, I certainly challenge. Don't misunderstand me. I challenge and I like to poke a stick at and I like to rattle a few cages. That, to me, lets people know, at least we're all interactive and we're engaging, we're active, we're involved. But it's not to say be like me, it's be like yourself.
Here's how you see it. And the other thing is too, I often hear a saying that, life is like a buffet. And it's what you take away. You've got the choice to have any takeaway you like. What have you chosen? And you choose what you choose for a reason. And we're here to evolve together. Wouldn't life be terrible if we were on Earth on our own?
Exactly.
So some people, thank God we're different because some people choose to be surgeons. That means I had my hysterectomy. I couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Some people choose to be pilots and fly airplanes. I didn't choose that, but someone did. Someone chooses to pick up my rubbish, right? So the world is a buffet for all of us. We can have any meal we want. And if the meal we're eating doesn't taste very good, just change it.
Exactly.
Just change the meal you're eating.
I used that analogy earlier and saying there might be rotten oysters on the buffet, but it doesn't mean you have to pick it up. And if you do pick it up, sure as hell don't eat it.
And that's exactly right. Just taste it and go, that's not for me. Put it down.
Exactly.
And I think the thing is to go through life seeing it as a toy shop as well. I look at it like the world as a toy shop. I can take anything off any shelf I want and just take it, experience it. If you like it, great, hang on to it. If it feels good, it's good. If you don't like it, put it back. Pick another toy.
And that falls in that philosophy of let go and let God or let good, whichever term you're more comfortable with. You've got to allow it. There are many people that are resistant to it.
But also everybody has a different experience. We're talking to beautiful people in America. We're talking to beautiful people in London. We're talking to people in Australia. And we've all got different experiences. When each of us walk out of our door in America or London or Australia, the doors are different. So I want to hear what your door's like. That's what it's about. It's about us sharing what's your backyard like. Exactly. What's good for you? What works for you?
Exactly. You know? We all share recipes. You know, we love those cooking shows. And those cooking shows would not be of interest if you only had one ingredient. All you can cook with is flour. Nothing else, just flour. How boring would that? You know, you can only eat flour for so long before you realise it's not palatable. Same as with life experiences. You know, mix it up a little bit.
Don't be critical. Don't hurt anybody. And that's the thing about what you just said just now. You said, you know, I have an opinion. I want to share it. It's great to share and evolve, and that's what we're doing.
And especially when you've got an informed opinion, I'm experienced a lot on many spectrums. So the depth of despair, difficulty and trauma, those people that are experiencing the depths of despair, difficulty and trauma, as well as those people who are successful and doing quite well. So, you know, in many parts of the world and the globe, so many different cultures. So that all adds on to an individual, that collection of experiences and the collection of all those people and their experiences of what they've shared. So the more that people actually get out and get involved and get engaged, the more you automatically expand. That's that 1% increment. There are those that stay within their own group, within their own sect, within those that just accept them as they are, that are too afraid to knock on the door next door. There are people that have lived in their neighbourhoods that don't even know their neighbour, which astounds me.
They feel so uncomfortable.
Exactly. And then that's not inclusive. That's what's exclusive. And exclusive is limiting. Exclusive is that one picture in the lounge room of the ex that was toxic, that is sitting there. So I've created that analogy right at the start to keep bringing it through so people can understand, where am I doing this in my life? What am I holding on to that is so X?
Well, if you want a different outcome, do something different. It's very, very simple.
Yes. Now, a question we ask is, how can we feel the difference between real news and fake news? What can we look for? Well, I guess, again, we just come to, how does it feel for you? And for myself, I don't personally follow a lot of news. News doesn't do it for me.
Well, the thing is, it's up to you to decipher from where you come from, your headspace, if we call it that, your headspace. You take from it how you see it,
Well, you can know whether you feel that is this excluding a group.
Well, what's real news and what isn't real news? Well, I suppose it's real news if they show you a car accident. That's real news.
But then again, I'm aware too, politically, things are engineered for a particular outcome and outlooks. The words are specifically chosen to engender an emotional response within listeners, to drive traffic or human traffic in a particular thought process and direction. So, we are manipulated. We're manipulated from McDonald's with its bright yellow sign to get our attention and tell us subliminally we're hungry. So, to think we're not at the mercy of our external environment, we are. However, I think if you find that you select what you want to find, where you are going to put your focus and your attention, and you'll discover more of that will cross your path. And because you've specifically selected it, that feel-good channel, that feel-good focus, it's a filter, and it tends to filter out this other crud and crap. So I only have, these days, crossing my path, what is in alignment with what my intention or my driven direction is. So, that's what I would think is, what is it that you're specifically looking for? What is it you want to find? Do you want drama? Turn the news on. Do you want manipulation? Turn the news on. Do you want difficulty and dilemma? Pick up the newspaper. So again, it's a selective focus. Now, I might be joking and laughing about that, and, that's a good thing, because it's our life, and seriously, we're not going to get out of it alive.
No one is getting out of here alive.
So the more you can lighten up and find more ways to feel good and less ways to feel bad, the sooner you're on your way to a better day, and that is, people say, what's the key to happiness, or what's the way to happiness? Well, the way is happiness. Once the way is your path, that's what Jesus came to send his message, to say, I am the way, as in this is an ideal. And an ideal just means an idea that's held foremost in your mind. So find what you're for, not what you're against. As you are for something, you become in alignment with it. That's called an energetic process where, you can hit one key and through resonance, it tips off other keys. Now, I don't want to go on to a scientific talk, but I just want us to become aware that we attract, we're in tune, and we are aligned with what we pay most attention to. And the 1%ers are great teachers and great indicators of where we're putting attention on things that are past, that are toxic, that are not working for us, or on that 1% that is getting better than we ever anticipated, that is extraordinary, that is amazing, that is outstanding. So every opportunity you get to praise someone, take it. Every opportunity you get to give a compliment, take it. Every time you're given one, take it. Add on to that 1% that makes you feel good. The old guy in the line behind you at the supermarket that's picking up, 4 items and counting his pennies. Can he afford it? Pay for it for him. Add in little moments that add to your day. This adds to your self-esteem bank account that makes you feel good. And the more you feel good, the more you find yourself flying and at a place and space that works for you, not against you.
Well said, Rosie.
I must have had a past life as a pastor because I sure as hell like to preach. But no, it's more that we're all in this together.
We are. We're all in the ship together. We are.
And the more we can unite and unify and find ways to, aid and assist and empower each other, the better it is for all of us, and the sooner we get that message. And if Easter isn't about that message, I don't know what it is. It's not about, do you believe in Christ? Do you believe in a Christian religion? Do you believe in another religion? It is about how are you as a human being showing up today on this planet and doing your bit. If you're blowing someone else up, you're not doing your bit. If you're bitching about someone else,
you are, but it's the wrong bit.
Exactly.
I think it's the wrong bit because it's about life, not destroying it.
Exactly.
It's about giving life.
Exactly. And the more we can add on to that in every, it's not in the big things we do. People look at big actions and go, but how can I do that? It's the little incremental actions that all add up. The 1% that you commit to that's continual, that makes you feel good and has a flow-on effect that makes all those others around you feel good too.
I agree, yeah.
So in that line, I'm going to wish everyone a happy Easter and a wonderful renewal of mind and resurrection of spirit to be inspired. And for Miss Vicky?
Yes, the same. I think, anything's possible. So, yes, we go forward today from this minute. Whatever we want, just know that it's available and go through life positively and creatively, I think.
Yeah, and when you can't think positive, go back to basics. Just take a big, deep breath. And a big, deep breath, just ask on the inside, ask for your inspiration. It is there. It is not exclusive. It is inclusive. It's there for every single one of us. So until next week, you've been listening to Until Now with Rosie Pekar. For more information or audios or articles, you can go to kickbutt.com.au and look forward to speaking with you all next week. And until then, stay in tune, aligned, and have fun. Let go and let good and let God.